Welcome back to the Sci-Fi Diner Podcast. We are bringing you an interview that we are extremely excited about. We could not believe we got this guy.
Oh yes, it was kind of a coup. I mean, he probably was the headliner at Shore Leave this year.
Certainly one of them. Mm-hmm. And we just happen to know his handler.
Right.
And we're in good graces with the handler, and we arranged, I think Friday when we got to Shore Leave 33, we arranged to do the interview, and we said we're going to do it Sunday, and time just kept ticking away, and finally, half an hour before John de Lancie had to leave the con, we got a chance to sit down and interview him.
He was very gracious to give us about 15 or so minutes of his time, and some people might say at cons, I mean, sometimes they say he's aloof, a little funny, but you know what, I saw him. He interacted with fans. He posed with fans for pictures. A woman asked if she could give him a hug. It helped that she was an attractive woman. Right. So he agreed to that. He was really cool.
But he gave you a hug, Miles. What does that mean? I guess arm around you and posing for a picture doesn't really count.
No, it doesn't. He was just being nice that time.
Okay. Mm-hmm. But and to be honest, he has spent all convention interviewing and talking to people and posing with people, and so he was tired when we met him. But he still, gave us his all.
He gave us a quality interview. I think you, our listeners, will enjoy it.
I gave you something most mortals never experience, a second chance at life. And now all you can do is complain?
I can't live out my days as that person. That man is bereft of passion and imagination. That is not who I am.
Au contraire, he's the person you wanted to be. One who was less arrogant and undisciplined in his youth. One who was less like me. The Jean-Luc Picard you wanted to be, the one who did not fight the Nausicaan, had quite a different career from the one you remember. That Picard never had a brush with death, never came face to face with his own mortality, never realized how fragile life is or how important each moment must be. So his life never came into focus. He drifted through much of his career with no plan or agenda, going from one assignment to the next, never seizing the opportunities that presented themselves. He never led the away team on Milica 3 to save the ambassador, or take charge of the Stargazer's bridge when its captain was killed, and no one ever offered him a command. He learned to play it safe, and he never, ever got noticed by anyone.
You're right, Q. You gave me the chance to change, and I took the opportunity. But I admit now, it was a mistake.
Are you asking me for something, Jean-Luc?
Give me a chance to put things back the way they were before.
Before you died in sickbay. Is that what you want?
I would rather die as the man I was than live the life I just saw.
This man needs no introduction. However, he certainly deserves one, and I'm going to attempt to give him a good one. Our guest's IMDb page is an impressive list of popular TV shows and movies, as well as video games for the last couple of decades. Just some of the shows include Star Trek Next Generation, Voyager, Breaking Bad, Andromeda, Stargate SG-1, Charmed, and I had a chance to most recently see him on Law & Order LA playing a judge. Our guest's work on the big screen have included some movies such as Gamer, Reign Over Me, and who could forget the scary thriller, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. Not only has our guest performed on TV and movies, but he's also performed Shakespeare on stage and has collaborated with the great Leonard Nimoy in performing and producing audio dramas. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure and privilege to introduce to you Mr. John de Lancie. Mr. de Lancie, welcome and thank you for taking time to speak with us on the Sci-Fi Diner Podcast.
My pleasure.
Although Q is used to create comic relief and also kind of be the bad guy for for Star Trek Next Generation, some of the best speeches can be uttered by Q. It's an interesting juxtaposition because, well, I find there's great truth in all of them. I'm thinking one of my favorite ones that you performed was if you can't take a little bloody nose, maybe you ought to go back home and crawl under your bed. It's not safe out there. It's wondrous with treasures to satiate desires such subtle and gross, but it's not for the timid. And you had a great speech and all good things about the trial never ends. It made Q more interesting, and it made me think Q wasn't just toying with them. He was in this funny way giving them some tough love, trying to help and educate them. Would that be a correct understanding of what Q was doing?
Yeah, I think so. I think the best Q episodes were the ones where the theme was of a more philosophic nature. Mm-hmm. So the things that you quoted were of a more philosophic nature, yes.
Mm-hmm. If I remember correctly, I had the privilege of seeing you at a convention about 15 years ago. Was Tapestry your favorite episode?
Tapestry at the time was a really good episode. Also, I forget, there was one that Michael Pillar's son wrote for Voyager, where it was about suicide, which was a very good one. I forgot the name of that one.
I don't know.
Then All Good Things was again a good one, which you quoted from. Yes, the issues of whether I loved Vosh or things like that were shows that didn't quite work in some way. Yeah.
Now, you've gone on to do a ton of other works on Star Trek. Tell us a little bit about your work in Torchwood. Coming out aired Friday, started Friday, right?
Oh, it did?
I think it opened Friday.
Well, it was great fun. They're a really fun cast. And it was just great fun. The writing is immediately, you recognize it as being immediately good. And there was sort of a real air about being on the show, about it being special. So it had all of the ingredients for making it a really nice experience.
And what was your role in?
I played a CIA guy called Shapiro. My last name is Shapiro, and I'm sort of a gruff, straight talker who clearly likes these guys, but also is primarily a professional who is involved in trying to figure out what's going on.
Right. Very cool. And your audio dramas, tell us about them. You're working on stuff with Leonard Nimoy, is that right?
Well, Leonard and I had a company called Alien Voices, and we produced these shows. I think there were 8 or 9 of them that we produced, and they were really involved and very they were fully realized. Mm-hmm. And they were with Simon & Schuster and with the Sci-Fi Channel. And it's been about 10 years, and they've kind of gone out of, they're no longer marketed anymore.
Right.
And so it occurred to us that we could probably reintroduce them. And these are evergreen titles. Invisible Man, Journey to the Center of the Earth,
right.
Lost World, and what have you. And a whole new generation of kids, if nothing else, are back out. And so that's what we're going to do.
So are you going to re-record them, or are you just
going
to re-release more?
We're going to re-release them, and I have a feeling I'm going to be able to convince Leonard to maybe that he and I will do a couple more.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Any chance for a Spock versus Q3?
I know. I've been asked that so many times, and I think that's the first thing that I'm going to ask him.
Because it'd just be fun. Fans of the genre would love it.
That's right.
Now, rumors have it that you are sailing to the South Seas. Tell us about this little adventure you have planned.
Well, every time I hear that, I cringe a little bit. But it's one of those. Okay. It's one of those. Well, the reason is that it is a huge adventure, and it requires, and it's a scary one, and it's a dream of mine.
Okay.
And I am kind of using a psychology on myself, which is to say that if I say it enough, I will force myself into doing it.
So if people ask you about it enough.
That's right. That's right. So, and I have worked through the most difficult part, or one of the most difficult parts, and that is that I have refitted my boat, which was an undertaking of 2.5 years, mostly of me doing the work. And now I am in sea trial time. So I took it out 10 days ago and figured out things that worked and figured out things that didn't work. And now I have spent the last week or so taking care of those things, and now I'm going to have another sea trial at the end of this coming week, and as I get closer and closer to this
There'll be more sea trials.
Jumping off the cliff, sort of thing.
What are you tentatively thinking you might embark on such a dangerous?
Well, I have a window which is April, May. That's a weather window,
right,
which only comes up once a year.
Right.
So, since I'm not getting any younger, perhaps the sooner the better.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm going to see if this coming April makes sense.
Right. So Law and Order is, and we talked about Torchwood. Anything else is coming up media-wise as far as movies or television shows?
No, the only thing that I know of is that I'm going to be doing Stravinsky's L'Histoire de Soldat in Philadelphia in January.
Okay.
January 24th, I think.
All right. And so in that, I'm not familiar with the work, so can you tell us a little bit about it?
Well, it's Stravinsky wrote a story which is essentially how it's kind of a devil story and a violinist and a soldier, and it's a wonderful story, and he did a brilliant. It's a great masterpiece, and it requires a full out narration. So I'm going to be doing it with the Curtis Institute, the students at the Curtis Institute. As a professional, a public show.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions you have?
I think you're pressed for time, so I don't want to, if you have to go.
Go ahead, one more.
Well, your episode, you did a Star Trek Voyager with your son.
Uh-huh.
I thought he did a good job. It was a very enjoyable episode.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a chip off the old block.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to work with your son again in some kind of acting capacity, or is that something that's...
Oh, no, that son has gone on to, he works for the UN right now, and he's running an operation called IOM, is it IOM? Yeah, Iraq. So he's involved with refugees in Iraq.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And my other son is actually did he's a designer, and he did the posters for the new Alien Voices thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So both of them, thankfully, are not in my business.
And why do you say that? Just the amount of work?
Oh, it's a really tough business, and unless you absolutely have to do it, there's no reason to do it. Now, that isn't to say that when I used to teach, I used to explain to the students, I used to say, now listen, you could have all the wonderful time that you think the business is about if you stayed in the community theater. You could have the rehearsals and the camaraderie and the adrenaline of the opening night and the run and the bittersweetness of closing night, and you could have all those things, and you could go from one show to the other and just have a wonderful time. But the minute you start saying, I have to make a living at this, then it's just not as easy and not as much fun.
The Continuum didn't think you had it in you, Jean-Luc, but I knew you did.
You're saying that it worked? We collapsed the anomaly.
Is that all this meant to you? Just another spatial anomaly, just another day at the office?
Did it work?
Well, you're here, aren't you? You're talking to me, aren't you?
What about my crew?
The anomaly, my ship, my crew. I suppose you're worried about your fish, too. Well, if it puts your mind at ease, you've saved humanity once again.
Thank you.
For what?
You had a hand in helping me get out of this.
I was the one that got you into it. A directive from the Continuum. The part about the helping hand, though, was my idea.
I sincerely hope that this is the last time that I find myself here.
You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? The trial never ends. We wanted to see if you had the ability to expand your mind and your horizons. And for one brief moment, you did.
When I realized the paradox.
Exactly. For that one fraction of a second, you were open to options you had never considered. That is the exploration that awaits you. Not mapping stars and studying nebula, but charting the unknown possibilities of existence.
Q, what is it that you're trying to tell me?
You'll find out. In any case, I'll be watching. And if you're very lucky, I'll drop by to say hello from time to time. See you out there.